The Hirogen Empire brutally crushed entire alien civilizations until one species dared to resist, the humans, who would activate a lost fleet and end the Hirogen's reign of terror forever. On the shadowy bridge of a Hirogen warship, Commander Izar glared at a galactic hologram. Red sectors flashed, marking human rebel attacks. Scar tissue stretched across Izar's reptilian face as his jaw tensed. Lieutenant Cragg, a young Hirogen officer, studied the display. But they're primitives. How can they threaten us? Izar's sharp teeth glinted. They compensate for weak technology with ingenuity and tenacity. Benjamin Jones, Izar spat. He's rallied humans and our slave races against us. Cragg squinted at the human. He seems unremarkable. Izar shook his head. They all look identical, but each one is dangerously unique. Jones is a brilliant tactician who's escaped us repeatedly. He inspires hope in a galaxy we thought subdued. Izar clenched a clawed fist. But now we can end his rebellion. Spies found an ancient fleet hidden by a dead civilization. Seizing it will crush humanity's resistance forever. Cragg's eyes widened. How powerful is this fleet? Izar's grin was predatory. It will decide the war, but we must hurry. Jones seeks the ships too. If he finds them first, we're doomed. Humanity's survival depends on who reaches that fleet first. On a remote space station light years from the Xiphon Nebula, Benjamin Jones and his right-hand man Tarok hunched over a flickering holographic star map in a cramped, dimly lit room. The glow from the display cast haunting shadows across Tarok's battle-scarred Hirogen face, his one remaining eye squinting as he jabbed a clawed finger at a pulsing light deep within the nebula's swirling clouds. There, that's where our informant claims this ancient fleet is hidden away, right in the damn heart of the Xiphon Nebula. Even us Hirogens steer well clear of that cosmic hellhole, Tarok growled. Benjamin leaned in closer. Lines of concentration etched into his brow as he studied the treacherous region. If these ships are as powerful as they say, it could finally give us the edge we need against the Hirogen. What have you learned about the fleet itself? Tarok tapped the console, bringing up a series of grainy images depicting sleek, angular vessels, unlike any Benjamin had encountered. Precious little, I'm afraid. Whatever civilization built these beauties vanished a long time ago, and any intel on their tech vanished with them. But word is they're packing heat that'd make the Hirogen think twice about starting shit. A faint smile tugged at the corner of Benjamin's mouth, a spark of hope igniting in his eyes for the first time in ages. Ships like that in our hands, we might actually have a shot at taking the fight back to the Hirogen. Give the people of this galaxy a future worth fighting for. Tarok fixed Benjamin with his single eye, his expression unreadable. One more thing, Jones. Our source says these ships won't fire up for just anyone. Seems they're keyed to human DNA specifically. Something about your genetic code being the magic key to bringing them to life. Benjamin's eyes widened in surprise. Humans? Us? But why would some long-lost civilization choose to place their trust in a species they never knew? Tarok let out a dry, rasping chuckle. Damned if I know. Maybe they saw something in your kind, some potential us Hirogen were too damn thick to notice, or hell, maybe it's just the universe having a laugh at all our expense. Point is, you're the one chance we have of getting those ships in the fight. Benjamin's shoulders sagged under the newfound weight of responsibility, but there was steel in his eyes as he met Tarok's gaze. Then that settles it. We're going to punch through whatever the Xiphon Nebula throws at us, get to those ships before the Hirogen catch wise, and show this galaxy what humanity can do when everything's on the line. Tarok nodded, a glimmer of respect in his battle-hardened features. I'll rustle up our best and brightest. We're going to need every scrap of grit and guts we can muster to get through that nebula in one piece. Benjamin reached out, clasping Tarok's shoulder in a gesture of solidarity between the battle-forged allies. We've come too far to let the Hirogen snuff out the last embers of hope, Tarok. It's time we reminded them that humans don't go down without a fight. Let's give them a wake-up call they won't soon forget. The scarred Hirogen returned the gesture. On the darkened bridge of the Hirogen warship, tension crackled like electricity as Commander Izar absorbed the grim report from his subordinate. Crag shifted uneasily, the holographic display casting an eerie glow across his concerned features. "Human ships, you say?" Izar's voice was a low growl, his eyes narrowing to dangerous slits. "Heading straight for the Zephon Nebula, and the ancient fleet hidden within." Crag nodded, his clawed fingers tapping nervously at the console. "Yes, Commander. Our scouts confirmed the sightings just moments ago. The humans are making their move." Izar slammed his fist against the armrest of his command chair, the impact echoing through the bridge like a thunderclap. Curse those meddlesome primates. How did they even learn of the fleet's existence, let alone its location? Crag hesitated, knowing his next words would only stoke the flames of Izar's fury. "We suspect they have an informant, Commander, someone with intimate knowledge of the fleet and its whereabouts, and—" He paused, steeling himself for the inevitable outburst. "Our intelligence points to the possibility of a traitor within our own ranks, a Hirogen who has turned against the Empire." Izar's reaction was as swift as it was terrifying. In a blur of motion, he was on his feet, his face contorted with rage. "A traitor? Among the Hirogen? This is an unforgivable betrayal, Crag. We will root out this treachery and make an example of all who would dare to defy us." Crag bowed his head, his voice carefully measured. "I understand, Commander, but we must also consider the very real possibility that the humans may have already reached the fleet. If they manage to activate those ships, they could become an even greater threat to our dominion over the galaxy." Izar paced the bridge like a caged predator, his mind racing with the implications of Crag's words. Finally he turned, his eyes gleaming with a cold, calculated resolve. "Then we have but one course of action, Crag. We must intercept the humans before they can lay claim to the fleet, and if necessary, we will destroy those ancient ships rather than allow them to fall into enemy hands." Crag's eyes widened in surprise, a protest forming on his lips. "Destroy the fleet? But, Commander, the technology contained within those vessels could grant us an unassailable advantage over the galaxy. Surely it would be wiser to capture them for ourselves." Izar shook his head, his expression grim and unyielding. "No, Crag. The risk is too great. If the humans gain control of that fleet, they could undo centuries of Hirogen conquest in a matter of days. It is better to see the ships reduced to ashes than to let them become a weapon in the hands of our enemies." Crag bowed his head, accepting the wisdom of his commander's decision. "As you command, Izar. I will assemble our swiftest ships and most skilled warriors for the pursuit. We will not allow the humans to reach the ancient fleet." Izar turned back to the holographic display, his gaze locked on the tiny pinpricks of light representing the human ships, inching ever closer to their goal. "See that you do not fail, Crag. The future of our empire hangs in the balance. We will crush this human rebellion and remind the galaxy why the Hirogen are the undisputed masters of all we survey." "Time is of the essence, Benjamin Jones. The Hirogen have caught wind of your intentions and are moving swiftly to intercept you. They will stop at nothing to keep you from reaching the ancient fleet." Benjamin leaned forward, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. "And how can we be sure this isn't some elaborate trap? For all we know, you could be leading us straight into an ambush." The informant let out a mirthless chuckle. "You have no choice but to trust me. I have put everything on the line to bring you this information, to give your people a chance to break free from the Hirogen's iron grip." Tarok, his hand instinctively resting on the hilt of his plasma blade, growled in frustration. "But why? Why risk betraying your own kind to help us?" The informant fell silent for a moment, as if carefully considering his next words. Not all Hirogen are content with the Empire's relentless pursuit of conquest and subjugation. Some of us remember a time before we were conquerors, when we were explorers and seekers of knowledge. We believe the Hirogen have strayed from their true path, and that your species, Benjamin Jones, may hold the key to setting us back on course." Benjamin and Tarok exchanged a meaningful glance, a silent understanding passing between them. "If what you say is true," Benjamin began, "then we are grateful for your assistance, but navigating the Zephon Nebula will be no easy feat. Our scans show it to be a treacherous maze of gravitational anomalies and energy storms." The informant nodded, his distorted voice filled with urgency. The nebula is indeed a formidable obstacle, but there is a hidden route, known only to a select few. I will transmit the coordinates to your ship's navigator. Follow them to the letter, and you will reach the ancient fleet unscathed. Tarok, his brow furrowed in contemplation, interjected, "And what of the Hirogen pursuit? How do we stay one step ahead long enough to secure the fleet?" The informant's holographic form flickered, the transmission growing increasingly unstable. "I have set a diversion in motion. A group of rebel Hirogen will launch an attack on a critical Hirogen outpost, drawing their attention away from your ships. But the window of opportunity will be fleeting. You must act swiftly and reach the fleet before the Hirogen realize they have been deceived." Benjamin nodded, his expression a mix of grim determination and resolve. "Understood. We won't let this chance slip through our fingers. If we succeed, we will not soon forget the risks you have taken on our behalf." The informant bowed his head, a gesture of respect and solidarity. "I do this not only for your species, Benjamin Jones, but for the future of the entire galaxy. May your journey be swift and your aim true. The fate of billions now rests squarely on your shoulders." As the final words faded into the ether, the holographic projection winked out of existence, leaving Benjamin and Tarok standing in the stillness of the room, the gravity of their mission weighing heavily upon them. The dull throb of the engines reverberated through the deck plating as the human fleet drew ever closer to the ancient station, the swirling energies of the Xiphon Nebula dancing across the view screen like an otherworldly light show. Benjamin Jones leaned forward in his command chair, his eyes fixed on the sprawling structure that held the key to humanity's survival. "Steady as she goes, Zix," he murmured, his voice tight with anticipation. "Bring us in nice and easy." The insectoid navigator's claws danced across the console, his compound eyes reflecting the kaleidoscope of colors that filled the bridge. "Aye, Captain. Adjusting course for final approach." Tarok, the battle-hardened Hirogen at Benjamin's side, let out a low whistle of appreciation as the details of the station came into sharper focus. "I never thought I'd lay eye on something like this," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "A technological marvel, hidden away for eons, just waiting for the right species to come along and claim it." Benjamin nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "And to think it was humanity they were waiting for all this time, us, a species the Hirogen once dismissed as primitive and insignificant." "For the Hirogen have underestimated a great many things," Tarok growled, his single eye narrowing. "It's a mistake they won't live to repeat." As the fleet drew within visual range of the station, the comm system crackled to life, and a voice unlike any they had heard before filled the bridge. It was deep and resonant, with an undercurrent of power that seemed to vibrate through their very bones. "Look sharp," Zix chittered, his mandibles clicking with excitement. "The station is transmitting a message." "Put it through," Benjamin ordered, leaning forward in his seat. The voice spoke in an ancient tongue, its words incomprehensible to their ears, but Zix's translation matrix was already hard at work, deciphering the message with lightning speed. "Captain," the navigator said, his eyes wide with wonder, "the message, it's addressed to you, to humanity." Benjamin felt a chill run down his spine as Zix read aloud the translated words, each one ringing with the weight of destiny. "Welcome, children of Earth. Long have we awaited your arrival. You who have persevered in the face of overwhelming odds, who have united the oppressed and downtrodden against the forces of tyranny. You who embody the spirit of resilience and ingenuity that we once saw in ourselves. The fleet is yours, Benjamin Jones. Use it wisely, and let the light of freedom shine once more across the stars." For a long moment, silence reigned on the bridge, broken only by the gentle hum of the engines and the soft beeping of the consoles. Benjamin felt a lump form in his throat, his eyes stinging with unshed tears. "They knew," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Somehow they knew that we would come, that humanity would rise up against the Hirogen and find our way to this place." Tarok placed a hand on Benjamin's shoulder, his scarred face split by a wide grin. And now we have the means to finish what we started. With these ships, we can turn the tide of this war and free the galaxy from the Hirogen's iron grip. Benjamin took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders as he met Tarok's gaze. Then let's not keep them waiting any longer. Zix, initiate docking procedures. It's time for us to claim our birthright and show the Hirogen what happens when they mess with the wrong species. Aye, Captain, Zix acknowledged, his claws already dancing across the console as he began the delicate process of guiding the fleet into the station's waiting embrace. As the view screen filled with the sight of the ancient ships, their hulls gleaming in the ethereal light of the nebula, Benjamin felt a sense of purpose settle over him like a mantle. This was the moment he had been fighting for, the chance to lead his people to victory and forge a new future for the galaxy. And with the power of the ancient fleet at their disposal, he knew that nothing, not even the might of the Hirogen Empire, could stand in their way. With a solemn nod, Benjamin stepped forward, his heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The sleek, angular ship loomed before him, its hull pulsing with an otherworldly energy that seemed to beckon him closer. As he approached, a shimmering portal materialized on the ship's surface, inviting him to step inside. Benjamin paused, his hand hovering inches from the portal. He glanced back at his crew, their faces a mix of awe and concern. Tarok, his scarred features softened by a rare smile, gave him a reassuring nod. "Go on, Benjamin," the grizzled Hirogen said, his voice gruff but encouraging. "You've earned this. The galaxy needs you to take this step." Drawing a deep breath, Benjamin turned back to the ship and stepped through the portal. In an instant, he found himself enveloped in a world of shimmering light and swirling energy. The ship's interior was unlike anything he had ever seen, a fusion of organic curves and technological marvels that defied description. As he moved deeper into the ship, Benjamin felt a presence brushing against his mind, a gentle but insistent touch that seemed to beckon him forward. He followed the silent call, his feet carrying him to the ship's central chamber, where a pulsing orb of energy hovered in mid-air. "Welcome, Benjamin Jones," a voice spoke directly into his mind, warm and inviting. "I am the living consciousness of this ship, born of the progenitor's wisdom and foresight. I have waited long for your arrival." Benjamin reached out, his fingers trembling as they brushed against the orb's surface. In that instant he felt a surge of energy coursing through his body, his mind expanding to encompass the entirety of the ship's consciousness. Memories and knowledge flooded into him, the collective wisdom of the progenitors unfolding like a flower in his mind. He saw the rise of the Hirogen, the suffering they inflicted upon countless worlds, and the desperate struggle of the oppressed to break free from their tyranny. He felt the progenitors' hope and faith in humanity, their belief that this small, resilient species held the key to the galaxy's salvation. As the bond between Benjamin and the ship deepened, he felt his own memories and experiences flowing outward, merging with the ship's consciousness. The joys and sorrows of his life, the triumphs and losses of his battle against the Hirogen, all became part of the ship's living tapestry. When the bonding process was complete, Benjamin stood tall, his eyes shining with a new light. He could feel the ship's power thrumming through his veins, its knowledge and wisdom now a part of his very being. He strode back to the portal, stepping through to rejoin his crew. They gasped as they saw him, his form now wreathed in an aura of shimmering energy. "It is done," Benjamin said, his voice resonating with the ship's power. "The progenitor's legacy is now ours to wield. The Hirogen's reign of terror ends today." As he spoke, the other ships in the hangar bay began to pulse with the same otherworldly energy, their living consciousnesses awakening to the presence of their new commander. The fleet was now alive, ready to fly forth and bring hope to a galaxy too long shrouded in darkness. Benjamin turned to his crew, his eyes alight with purpose. "To your ships," he commanded, his voice ringing with authority. "The stars await us, and the Hirogen have a long-overdue reckoning coming their way." On the darkened bridge of Izar's Hirogen warship, the commander stood rigid, his eyes locked on the flickering hologram of the Hirogen elder. The elder's face, a tapestry of scars and weathered skin, scowled at Izar, his voice a low, menacing growl. Commander Izar, I have received disturbing news. The humans have breached the Xiphon Nebula and located the ancient fleet. Explain this failure. Izar clenched his jaw, barely restraining his anger. Elder, we were betrayed from within. A traitor in our midst provided the humans with the information they needed to navigate the nebula's treacherous currents. Our ships pursue them, but the humans have gained a significant lead. The elder's eyes narrowed to slits, his displeasure palpable. This is unacceptable, Izar. The ancient fleet wields power that could unravel centuries of Hyrogen conquest. If the humans seize control of those ships, they will become an unstoppable force. Izar's voice strained with the gravity of the situation. I understand the severity of this threat, Elder. We will spare no effort to stop the humans from activating the fleet. I have dispatched our swiftest vessels to intercept them, with orders to destroy the ancient ships if necessary. The elder leaned forward, his holographic form flickering with intensity. Destruction of the fleet is not an option, Izar. We must capture those ships and bend their power to our will. Imagine the might of the Hyrogen Empire, armed with the technology of the progenitors. We would be invincible. A cold smile spread across the elder's face, his eyes glinting with ruthless ambition. We have our ways, Izar. The Hyrogen have not risen to dominance by shying away from challenges. We will bend the ancient fleet to our will, just as we have bent the galaxy to our rule. Izar bowed his head, his voice heavy with trepidation. As you command, Elder, I will not fail you. The humans will be stopped, and the ancient fleet will be ours. The elder nodded, his holographic form beginning to dissipate. See that you do not fail, Izar. The future of our empire hangs in the balance. Crush the humans and bring me the ships of the progenitors. Glory to the Hyrogen. As the hologram faded, Izar turned to his crew, his face a mask of grim determination. You heard the elder. We will not rest until the ancient fleet is in our hands. Prepare for battle, and let the galaxy tremble before the might of the Hyrogen. The cacophony of plasma fire and agonized screams reverberated through the ancient station's corridors as Benjamin Jones, Zix, and Tarok sprinted towards the hangar bay. Hyrogen warriors, their armor glinting under the pulsing emergency lights, poured from every junction, their weapons spitting deadly energy at the trio. Benjamin ducked behind a bulkhead, his heart hammering against his ribs. He glanced at Tarok, the grizzled Hyrogen's face a mask of determination as he returned fire. Zix, his insectoid form a blur of motion, darted between the attackers, his razor-sharp claws finding gaps in their armor with surgical precision. Tarok grunted, his plasma rifle bucking in his hands as he sent a barrage of searing bolts into the advancing Hyrogen. Easy for you to say, Jones. These bastards are crawling out of the woodwork. Benjamin risked a glance around the corner, his eyes widening as he saw the massive, scarred form of the Hyrogen commander emerging from the smoke, flanked by a phalanx of elite warriors. The commander's eyes locked with Benjamin's, a predatory grin spreading across his brutish features. "Surrender, human!" the commander bellowed, his voice a guttural roar. "You have no chance against the might of the Hyrogen. Give us the ships, and we may spare your miserable lives." Benjamin gritted his teeth, his grip tightening on his weapon. "You'll have to kill me first," he spat. "I'll never let the progenitor fleet fall into your hands." The Hyrogen commander threw back his head and laughed, the sound harsh and grating. "So be it, human. You will die, and the galaxy will remember the folly of defying the Hyrogen." As the elite warriors raised their weapons, Zix let out a piercing shriek and leaped forward, his insectoid body a whirlwind of claws and limbs. The Hyrogen recoiled, momentarily caught off guard by the ferocity of the attack. Tarok seized the opportunity, his plasma rifle flaring as he poured fire into the distracted warriors. Their armor melted under the onslaught, their screams of agony echoing through the corridor. Benjamin surged to his feet, his own weapon blazing as he joined the fray. He wove between the Hyrogen, his human agility and quick thinking allowing him to outmaneuver the larger warriors. Plasma bolts sizzled past his head as he ducked and rolled, his weapon never ceasing its lethal barrage. As the last of the Hirogen fell, their bodies smoking and twitching on the deck, Benjamin turned to his companions, his face etched with sorrow. "Zix, Tarok," he breathed, his voice heavy with emotion. "I can't thank you enough for your bravery, but we've got to keep moving. The fleet is waiting." Tarok, his armor scorched and battered, grinned fiercely. "Then let's not keep them waiting any longer, Captain. The Hirogen have underestimated humanity for the last time." With renewed determination, the trio raced towards the hangar bay, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. The doors to the vast chamber loomed before them, the sleek forms of the progenitor ships beckoning like beacons of hope in the darkness. The cockpit of Benjamin's progenitor ship thrummed with energy as he and Tarok ran through the final checks. The sleek, angular lines of the alien technology pulsed with a soft, ethereal glow, a testament to the power and wisdom of the long-vanished race that had created them. Suddenly a shimmering hologram materialized before them, the regal figure of Zoran taking shape. His face, usually a mask of calm serenity, was etched with lines of grave concern. "Benjamin Tarok," he began, his voice heavy with urgency, "I bring dire news. The Hirogen fleet has arrived, and they have brought a weapon of terrible power, a doomsday device capable of destroying entire star systems." Benjamin's eyes widened in horror, his mind reeling at the implications of Zoran's words. A doomsday device? How could the Hirogen possess such technology? Zoran's holographic form flickered, his voice tinged with sorrow. They must have salvaged it from the ruins of a long-dead civilization, one even more advanced than the progenitors. If they deploy it here, in the heart of the nebula, the resulting explosion will tear apart the very fabric of space and time. Billions will perish. Tarok, his scarred face grim, leaned forward in his seat. "Then we have to stop them no matter the cost, but how can we hope to counter such a weapon?" Zoran's image wavered, his eyes filled with a desperate urgency. "There is a way, but it will require a sacrifice. The progenitor fleet, when linked together, can generate a field of pure energy, a barrier that could contain the blast. But the strain would be too much for the ships to bear. They would be destroyed in the process." Benjamin, his voice steady despite the weight of the revelation, asked the question that hung heavy in the air. "And what of the pilots? Could they survive such an event?" Zoran shook his head, his eyes filled with a deep, ancient sadness. "No, Benjamin. Whoever pilots the ships, whoever forms the barrier, will be lost. It is a sacrifice that cannot be avoided." Silence fell over the cockpit, the weight of the decision pressing down on Benjamin's shoulders like a physical force. He closed his eyes, his mind racing through the possibilities, the consequences of action and inaction. Finally he turned to Tarok, his expression resolute. "Tarok, old friend, I need you to do something for me. I need you to lead the fleet, to guide them in the battle against the Hirogen. Can I count on you?" Tarok's eyes widened, realization dawning on his face. He shook his head vehemently, his voice rough with emotion. "Benjamin, no. You can't be thinking of piloting the barrier ship yourself. Let me do it, or one of the others. You're too important to the rebellion, to the galaxy." But Benjamin only smiled softly, placing a hand on Tarok's shoulder. "It has to be me, Tarok. The progenitors chose me for this moment, for this purpose. I see that now. The galaxy needs a leader, someone to unite the freed species and build a new future. That leader is you, my friend." Tarok's eyes glistened with unshed tears, his clawed hand clasping Benjamin's in a fierce grip. I won't let you down, Benjamin. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. The galaxy will remember your name, your courage, for generations to come." Benjamin nodded, his face a mask of calm determination. "Then let us face our destiny, Tarok, for the freedom of the galaxy and for the future of all species. Let us show the Hirogen the true power of human resolve." The cockpit fell silent once more, the weight of the moment settling over them like a shroud. Benjamin's gaze locked with Tarok's, a silent communication passing between the two warriors, a bond forged in the crucible of war and sacrifice. And in that moment, they knew that the fate of the galaxy, the hopes and dreams of billions, rested squarely on their shoulders. The bridge of the progenitor flagship hung silent, the only sound the soft hum of the ship's systems and the quiet sobs that slipped from Tarok's throat. He stared out at the debris field where the Hirogen doomsday weapon had detonated, where Benjamin had made his final stand. Twisted metal and shattered hull fragments drifted against the shimmering backdrop of the nebula, a graveyard of broken dreams and shattered hopes. "He did it," Tarok whispered, his voice raw with grief. "That crazy human actually did it." Zoran's holographic form shimmered into existence beside him, the ancient AI's face etched with sorrow. "Yes, Tarok. Benjamin's sacrifice saved countless lives. He contained the blast, prevented the destruction of entire systems. But the cost was high. Too high." Tarok nodded, unable to tear his gaze away from the wreckage. "I knew he was brave, Zoran. Hell, he was the bravest man I ever met. But this? I never thought he'd go this far. Never imagined he'd lay down his own life like that." Zoran laid a ghostly hand on Tarok's shoulder, a flicker of warmth in the cold emptiness of space. He was a hero, Tarok, a true embodiment of the human spirit. Fearless, selfless, willing to give everything for the sake of others. His name will be remembered, his deeds celebrated for generations to come. Tarok was silent for a long moment, his scarred face twisted with grief and pain. Finally he turned to face Zoran, his single eye glistening with unshed tears. "But what do we do now? The Hirogen are broken, their empire in ruins, but there will be others. Other tyrants, other warlords looking to fill the power vacuum. How do we keep the peace that Benjamin died for?" Zoran's expression grew distant, his gaze turning inward as if seeking wisdom from the depths of his ancient programming. "I fear that true peace may always elude us, Tarok. The galaxy is vast and filled with dangers beyond imagining, but this fleet, this legacy of the progenitors, it was left as a shield against the darkness, a light to guide the way and protect the innocent." Tarok's jaw tightened, a flicker of resolve hardening in his eye. "Then that is what we'll be. We'll take up the mantle that Benjamin left us. We'll gather the free peoples of the galaxy, rebuild this fleet, and stand as guardians against any who would threaten the weak. We'll honor Benjamin's sacrifice by forging a better future, one where heroes like him are remembered forever." Zoran smiled faintly, pride and sorrow mingling in his expression. "It will be a difficult road, my friend. The scars of the Hirogen's cruelty run deep, but with Benjamin's memory to guide us, and the strength of unity, I believe we can walk it. Together." Tarok drew in a deep, shuddering breath and squared his shoulders. One hand fell to the plasma blade at his side, a symbol of the battles yet to come. "Then let's begin, Zoran. Let's build the future that Benjamin dreamed of, one where hope never dies, and the light of courage shines bright against the darkness of an uncaring universe." As Tarok turned back to the viewport, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond, the battered remains of the progenitor fleet began to move as one, ancient engines flaring to life. Scarred and weary, but unbroken, they set out into the void, ready to face whatever challenges the cosmos held. At their heart, the memory of a human named Benjamin burned bright, a beacon of defiance and self-sacrifice to light the way forward. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.